We're on. Hey, folks. What's up? I'm
Hello.
Gale Wulff. This is
Hello. Hello.
Dr. J. Uecker in the house.
Hello. In his
I
house.
saw you getting yourself psyched up there, smacking yourself on the face a little bit and getting revved up a little bit, doing a couple jumping jacks.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm afraid I would. Yeah, I should. I'll hurt myself.
You've got the extra
Heart rate
padding
will get up too high and explode.
You've got that extra
I know.
padding, that beard on your face there.
This is my coronavirus growth.
Oh, is it?
Coronavirus beard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I
Now,
have.
is that
It's not so much
protective
about. Yeah, it's not so much about growing a beard as it is just not shaving.
Yeah, I understand that one too. I got my stumbles kind of the same way. It's not, I'm not trying to set a fashion statement. I just have been lazy the last 3 days. So
Yeah, well, if you
here
don't
we
have
go.
to go into the office or whatever, then
No, I don't have. I'm single, ladies. I'm not out
right.
trying to impress anyone either. I've just pretty much been in the house and been in my wood shop building stuff. So, uh, you know, don't really need to worry about that all that much.
Right. Right. Well, welcome
So,
to the podcast. This is
welcome.
like what, our 6th episode or something.
Is it really? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it sounds right. Yeah,
I think
about
so.
number 6. Knocking these out one time a week. Pretty cool.
Yeah,
Been fun.
that's cool. Yeah, it has been fun.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what are we talking about today?
This is an interesting one. Jay and I were
See.
talking a little bit before jumping on here with everybody, and I was relaying a conversation I'd had with a couple different people over the last few months, and this one friend that I connected with was talking about politics, and this is back when the Democratic debates were going on, and that was the hot topic and the hot news at the time. And
How long ago was this then?
oh God, it was like January or
Okay.
February,
All right.
something like that. And it could be, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was after Christmas, maybe a little before. I don't know. Honestly, I don't follow this stuff, and that's part of what we're going to talk about. I don't follow it, so it's not like it's important to me. At least I don't make it important. I'll put it that way. And so she's talking about the debates and the politicians and their views and where they're all at, and I was sitting there kind of like a deer in the headlights. I knew little things that I had kind of gleaned off of hearing other people talk or different commentary I've heard people make or a story I've seen on internet or something, but I really had nothing intelligent to say. Not at least I didn't think I sounded as intelligent as she did. But then I kind of got this sense from her after a little while she could pick up that like this guy, he's not following. And I got this sense that she kind of had this underlying thought of, well, he should be paying attention to this kind of thing, and then I was in a conversation with another fella, I don't know, a couple of weeks after that or so. And again, politics came up, and he's rambling off all these facts and this is and that's and the Republicans and the Democrats and how this person's doing this and that person's doing that and how this is bad and this is good and I was like, I don't know, I don't follow any of that stuff. And he's like, what? It's you live in this country and you don't follow it. And I'm like, no, I'm not interested in politics. I have absolutely zero interest in politics. And I didn't have this thought in the moment. This is one of those things that I was kind of thinking about on the way home, right? Where I was kind of like, well, for this guy, politics is important. For these people, politics is important. And for me, they're not. what I'm interested in is human consciousness. And
Right.
so it crossed my mind, what if in that moment I had said something to him to the effect of, well, we're in the middle of a global revolution in consciousness. I think it'd be smart for you to start working on yourself a little bit. Start working through some of your issues and start getting. You really need to get some crystals. And you know what I mean?
Get your chakras together, dude.
Like, do you realize that your solar plexus chakra is not spinning right direction, and it's actually kind of a dark yellow. Something's wrong there, man. You really need to get that.
Dude.
So I and I had the thought, it's like, we put our awareness where things are important, or where we find our importance, or how we function in life, and where we see life impacting us and us impacting life.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, just the kind of the judgment that was in the middle of all of that I kind of found myself in the middle of receiving. I thought, well, I don't know. And I realized too, I guess I was I also was kind of judging him.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't voice it. He
Right.
voiced it, overtly. And,
right.
and I didn't voice mine, but I thought it's like, well, it's all in your approach, I suppose.
Right. Can I ask you some personal questions?
Sure.
Did you vote last time?
No,
You vote?
I did not.
That's a touchy subject. Well, there again, there's people that think, of course,
Yeah,
I've
had
really
a lot of
bad.
people. I've been openly talking about this with people, and I've gotten a lot of heat for it. People are like, "What? You don't vote?" and blah blah blah. And I'll be honest with you on the whole voting thing is,
why don't you vote?
I don't believe in the Electoral College. I don't believe in the way it's set up, and I also don't believe that all of our votes do get counted. I believe that there's a lot of tampering. I believe there's a lot of manipulation that goes on.
You don't trust the system?
Honestly, yeah, the system. I think it's totally broken, and I don't think the numbers that are presented are the numbers that actually exist. And so I'm like, why go participate in a system that is totally messed up?
Right.
So here's my personal stance on all this is, and I mentioned this to Jay here right before jumping on here also, is I really believe that in the next 20 years or so, maybe less, that we're going to have a completely different political system going on. That what we're working with now isn't going to be in place. And so to me, why put energy and focus into something that's dying when you could be putting it into creating something new? And that's what I've been thinking about is like, what can replace this system? What is a better system than what we have here?
You think there'll be like no political system, or just it'll look different?
Well, I do believe that there will be a political system. And here's the thing is I really believe that evolution happens slowly, and that too much change in a short amount of time is just not sustainable. It's like if you go out and lose 20 pounds in a month, more than likely you're going to gain a lot of that back. But if you whittle away a pound or two or a few pounds a month or something, you keep it off. And it's like the same holds true in most things. Too much change is too much change. And things, incremental changes often lead to more sustainability. It's my perspective on things. And that there will be, I do think that at some point we'll have some sort of an upheaval, and then another system will be put into place that's somewhat similar to what we've got, but it won't be what we've got. Like I think we'll have more options for voters, like more politicians. I think that there'll be a different system
like more
altogether.
people to, right? As opposed to just like this like two-party thing.
Yeah, we just get, that's ridiculous. And you got like two good and bad,
right.
whatever side you're on.
Right.
The other one's wrong and the other one's bad.
Right.
And you hear it in conversations all the time. Well, the Democrats did this, and they just they're just socialists. Right. And the Republicans are all like, well, they're just business people, and they throw stones at each other's glass houses and then get us all riled up.
Polarity.
Polarity.
Yeah, I guess that's something that bugged me about it for sure. This last time, like thinking about it, like, give me someone. I mean, this whole thing where you're like, I'm going to vote for this idiot because I don't want this idiot to be president. That just sucks. Like, I have a hard time with that. Like, give me someone I can actually vote for. Like, give me someone that I feel like represents me, which, I mean, when you take the average American, I'm probably quite a bit weirder than the average American, but so I don't know if there's going to be anyone that really represents me, but that's definitely what certainly something that bugs me about it. You get cornered into these, like, this guy or this guy or gal or this guy or gal, and it's like neither of them, like, I can't handle either of them. So
yeah.
So I didn't vote. Did I vote? I didn't vote last time either, I think. I thought I would try that. I thought there's a part of me that feels like this is, that I should vote. But I thought, let me try not vote. Let me try this because I think two choices is no choice, and these people are both idiots. So
yeah,
let me try this.
To hear you voice that, I recall actually having similar thoughts of, I'm going to pick the lesser of two evils here, and and that was the same breakdown of, I feel societal pressure to vote. Like, I don't want to have that conversation with my friends. Oh, you didn't vote, and have that label. It felt cleaner to me to really honor myself and to say, I don't believe in either of these two people, and I don't believe in the system. I'm not going to play in that sandbox.
Right. The other thing is, I mean, I feel like there's just like so much stuff going on in the background, and what's really going on. And like, I have a hard time trusting, I have a hard time trusting the system. Again, maybe that's just my nature or whatever, I guess. But maybe that's like my daddy issues or something. Can't trust authority or something. But coming through as my shadow or something, and then I play it out on the government. But I have a hard time. Like, I just feel like, gosh, everyone's aware that it feels like everyone knows that we're not getting the whole story. Just like, give me the truth. Give me the whole story.
Yeah, totally.
Level with us, for crying out loud.
People are hungry for it. I think, and this, I'm not advocating or condemning anybody by what I'm about to say. I just want to put that out there right now.
Disclaimer. Okay.
This is Gale's disclaimer of what he's about to spew out of his mouth. And the thing here is I'm talking about delivery of concept and idea, and that alone. That's all I'm talking about. Now, for example, when you would listen to George W. talk, like, and he would bumble through things and he sounded like an idiot. And not too many people think that he sounded very brilliant, and he was not an orator. I'll say
Right.
that he was not
Not
an
a great
orator.
orator.
Okay? And then, but
Right.
you'd like listen to him talk, and then you had someone like Barack Obama come up there,
Mm-hmm.
who was very composed, and he was able to be present to his words very well.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a level of it's like the presence he had to what he had to say, to me, it seemed like he was more trustworthy, that
Mm-hmm.
I could trust more of and just based on the delivery alone,
Mm-hmm.
just based on the delivery, not knowing anything about his politics, but
Mm-hmm.
just the way his words were spoken. And
Mm-hmm.
now we've got Trump, who I think he just makes it up as it comes out of his mouth half the time.
Right. Right.
And that's, I'm not saying anything about any of their policies or anything they did. It's just sheer delivery of
Mm-hmm.
what they have to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, George
And
W. Bush, he kind of always seemed like he was like this mischievous little boy to me, kind of like,
you know what's in my back pocket? He's the one that kind of had the
right,
slingshot in his back pocket while the
right,
broken window is over here, and he's pointing at
right.
the other house.
I don't know how I got this job, but ha ha ha.
I got it. Thanks, Dad.
This is great.
Yeah, right. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, all just interesting stuff,
Well, there's this, I don't know what the saying is exactly, but something about the wisest person, as a person that can sort of like hold many different perspectives.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that's kind of like what I've been trying to lean towards. Like, I just notice how, in my healing journey, polarity is like, we were talking about it in one of these other podcasts, like polarity is an important part of the process. Like,
Yeah.
we were talking about how coronavirus, like maybe your guides were like saying like, we need this polarity. So, we need to be locked in our houses so we can get clear on what we really want, sort of thing, like the polarity, or the what's the word, the contrast,
the contrast.
need
Yeah.
the contrast, and that clarifies things for us. But in my own healing journey, certainly like recognize that sort of stage of the process in me where I'm like get polarized to sort of like one side or the other. And just as I watch myself evolve through that, I always start to notice like, oh, well, there's this side, there's this part of me, and then there's this part of me. And at some point you're sort of able to sort of like see both parts. And I feel like that's what I've been trying to do with all this political stuff, because gosh, there's like every, and then I start like looking at watching other stuff, watching other opinions, not just watching the same thing. Like my wife, she out doing her hospice stuff, and she watches Rachel Maddow, and she comes home and she's like, this is what's going on, and this and this and this and this and this, and it's like totally, it's like all Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow is God when it comes to politics, sort of.
Okay.
And she's not really like that, but she can get a little fired up about what Rachel Maddow has to say. And, there's just like so many different opinions out there. And I try to like listen to the conservative stuff and the liberal stuff. And then I listen to, watch a lot of the, total crazy stuff. So like to be honest,
like David Icke kind of stuff.
Oh, sure. David Icke. And well, let's see. So there's this, like my wife, she thinks Trump is like doing everything bad for the environment, and he's just trying to make his cronies rich, and he's an idiot. Trump's an idiot. And I don't know, just like this recent thing that I saw, like Trump said something about, maybe we can do some, disinfecting or something like that, internal disinfecting. And then like everyone goes crazy and says like, Trump said, drink
Drink bleach?
Lysol, drink
Yeah.
bleach. Like, no, he didn't actually say that. They go off, Trump's an idiot.
Yeah.
But then there's this, they're like, yeah, then there's this other side of the thing where I see in the sort of conspiracy world where like Trump is part of the good guys, and
Yeah.
everything he's doing is trying to liberate us. It's part of, connected to the alliance. And
Yeah.
so it's just kind of crazy how they're,
Is that what they're, is that David Wilcock stuff?
it's not just David Wilcock. It's like, I think he's getting his, I don't know where they all get their information, and they're disseminating it, but that's kind of he talks like that. And I don't know. And I don't know. There's some other ones that I don't know so well, and they talk like that too. But that, there's this, there's the deep state's going to get arrested, and Trump is part of killing the deep state and arresting them, and that's going on right now. And Trump, like, something about he like did something to, now all our money is in the treasury is backed by gold again, and it's just things, I don't know, like he's the hero actually. So it's just, all these differing opinions, and yeah, it's hard to know what to believe. Like who's given me everyone can sort of say it with conviction and, seemingly very convincingly, whether it's Rachel Maddow or David Wilcock or whoever it is, so it's like, I kind of don't know what to believe. What's true?
And here's the thing is, because I've thought about this a lot actually over the last little while, and for me, I go to what gets me through the day, like what gets me through the day. Do I need to have a solid opinion about this? Do I not need to have a solid opinion about this? Does it matter if I have an opinion at all? Does it, how much are the governmental decisions affecting my day-to-day business? Yes, I see it in the gas prices or the food prices, or now I'm stuck at home on quarantine or whatever. There are certainly things that influence the day, but to me it boils down to like, how do I operate in the world, and what can I control or not control? And if I'm getting really emotionally wrapped up and irritated and mad about things and fired up, then that's not where I want to be. However, I also believe that I'm not wired for that. I'm not wired to walk through the day and be mad and throw stones at the Senate House because they voted on something a certain way. That's not why I'm here. It's not why I'm in this world. I'm here to bring different consciousness, new ideas. I'm here to talk about spirituality. I mean, that's what I'm here to bring forward, and that's what I'm here to do. Like, I'm clear about that.
Right. Well, some people's thing is, politics. There are those people that's,
totally.
That's how they're wired. That is their thing. Totally. Yeah. But like Absolutely. I'm not going to change the world. I'm not going to change the world through politics or through convincing anyone of this or that. I just connected people with themselves, I guess. And
what we all think is important, and honestly, and here's the thing is I've got how am I going to talk about this? I've got a person that I know. There's a person that I know.
This is a friend.
A friend.
I'm asking for a friend.
We're talking about a friend. Okay. And she was questioning, okay, is coronavirus real? Does it even exist? And if you listen to stuff from David Icke, he says, no, it doesn't, that it's totally made up, that it's it's interesting to listen to him talk, because he's actually got scientific stuff to back all this up, which is fascinating. But anyway, she's going, okay, is coronavirus real? Blah, blah, blah. And I don't know that it is. And then also was saying, I don't like the way the government's handling this. I'm thinking about sharing all the senators' names on these places and stuff. And I'm like, go for it. You absolutely should do that.
Right.
Go for it. If that's what you're feeling called to do, then you go do your thing. You live your life. If that's your calling and that's your purpose, then you need to start living that. It doesn't matter whether or not I agree with it or not, but you go do it. And so I encouraged her. I'm like, yeah, man, go do it. It's not my calling. Don't ask me to, because I won't. But if that's what you're inspired to do, go for it. Like, I don't think she's going to feel inspired to go channel a message from Canadians or something, you know?
Right.
But, you know, it's like we're all, and even, you know, that the guy that I was talking about that kind of judged me for where I'm not at or where I'm at. No, it's like, well, he's living his life. He's doing his thing. That's great, you know? And if I've got some judgments about that, that's on me, not on him, you know? If he's judging me, that's his problem.
Right.
You know? So it's just an interesting thing, you know, what we choose to make important and put our energy into and focus on. And, you know, I was actually, I did watch this David Icke thing, and it was more, I've been kind of curious about what he's had to say from the beginning about this whole thing. You know,
what David Icke thing?
Coronavirus, you know, COVID-19.
Was it on London Real?
London Real. It was on London Real. Yeah, the 3-part interview that he did. It was like a 3-hour interview, and it had 5G in there and all this different stuff.
Right.
And some of the stuff he said, I'm like, yep, I can totally see that. I agree. I can totally see that. And other stuff, I was kind of like, well, I don't know about that. But you know, but to me, that's what I'm interested in, you know. And I was kind of interested to just know like what his far opinion was, you know. But
he's got quite an opinion.
He does. He
like,
has. I mean, there's like
I don't know how that guy. Gosh, to be him would be crazy. You know,
that's
like
what I was thinking.
He thinks like you know, I mean, doesn't think he knows that, you know, like the royals are like reptilians, or that there is a reptilian. Like, wow, that's quite a reality to be certain about.
And then they're actually here to promote AI, so AI takes over the planet, and it's basically human versus machine until machine wipes us out and takes control. Like
is that what he said?
Yeah, like that's the ultimate eventuality, that the reptilians are actually in being led by another group of another hierarchy above them, and AI is actually behind all of it.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like that's the ultimate ending to humanity is AI.
This is a little bit of an aside, and then you can go back to that. But you know, Elon Musk, you know, he doesn't like AI.
Yeah,
he's afraid of AI, and he says that the thing to do is for us to merge with technology as soon as we can, because if you know, if we're merged with technology, then it won't kill us, because certainly at some point AI will decide that, you know, we're a pain in the butt and take us out. But if we're merged with it, then we you know, it won't, because we're part of it.
Yeah.
That's like, that was crazy to me. That's where Elon Musk's brain goes.
Yeah, I saw
merge with AI.
He came out with that movie like 2.5 years ago. I remember watching that. It was pretty interesting.
But anyway, I'm sorry I interrupted.
Oh no, that's all good. It's all good.
AI group is running the reptilians, and then we're gonna get taken over by AI.
Yeah, we're gonna get taken over by the computers and AI, and this is and that. And so, but where I wanted to go with this was, it was basically dovetailing off of what you had just said, was to kind of bring this back in, was that, like, I was watching David Icke, during this interview. I'm like, man, like I don't think I could handle being in that guy's body. Like he is fired up all the time about this.
Yeah.
He is so fired up that he investigates it. He's turned his entire life into it.
Right.
You know, I can't imagine the tension that must be in his body and in his brain and in his nervous system on a continual basis,
right?
That you're wired to fight. And who knows? And that's just my projection of what it might be like to live that way. But then again, I also wholeheartedly advocate him doing it, because me, that's his calling, and that's what he's here to do.
Like, he always talks about what it's like to to speak your mind and not care what anyone else thinks about you. He talks about how most people are really, base what they're going to say every moment based on, or what they're going to do or say from moment to moment based on what other people think about them. And he's saying he's kind of like worked his whole life to sort of not care what people think about him. So
that I admire that.
To be a level of freedom. I was thinking about that as you saying that. There would be a level of freedom, and a level of freedom in your body. And lack of tension, if that was true. If you could actually just like live that, say whatever you wanted to say, and not be concerned about what other people think of you.
Well, I've got an interesting,
like what we're doing here. Like, people are gonna,
like, what are you thinking of us? What do you think?
People are gonna, someone who's close to me is gonna hear this. They're gonna be like, oh my God, Jay thinks about this stuff. Oh my Lord.
Yeah. I've been doing, every morning I've been doing a broadcast, a live on YouTube and on Facebook. And I've been doing this since quarantine began. And every morning I wake up and I think of something to talk about, and I spend 15 minutes talking about it. Then I do some somatic healing work, and then I lead a guided meditation. And I a couple times, so I'll give a little more of a backstory. So right now I'm living in Illinois, in my hometown, and it is small town, rural Illinois. And people around here, they don't talk about consciousness. They don't talk about ascension. They don't talk about working on themselves. It's not progressive, is what I'm trying to say. And so I grew up here, and I moved away, and I've been away for 30 years or whatever it is. And I come back, and I've been meditating. I've lived in a Buddhist Zen center. I've done all these things, all these woo-woo things, if you will. Like, I channel beings and stuff. And
you're crazy.
So I'm doing these lives, and I'm like watching the feed below. You can see who's logging on and watching.
Right.
And I'm seeing people log on from like my childhood, and people that I went to college with. And I'm like, like about once a day or once every other day or so, I'll be just talking about whatever I'm talking about, and I'll see someone's name come up there, and I'll be like,
yeah. That's why I commend you for doing that, because lives.
Oh my God.
Scare me.
It's such an edge though. And that's my practice, actually. Kind of in line with what, you're saying about David Icke, is I'm like, well, this is really what I believe. And I'm talking about the things that I believe in. I'm not saying everything, because I don't want to have my videos banned, because right now all the censorship that's going on, but I'm speaking in terms of like what I feel like I'm called to talk about,
Well, I don't know. We might get, I guess we'll see what happens, but I don't know. There's certain things that you can and can't talk about these days on YouTube or anywhere else. You can't, anti-vaccine stuff get you banned, and anything they're saying, I think their policy has been anything that kind of goes against the World Health Organization. If you say anything, contrary to that, it'll get you banned. Probably this 5G thing. probably will get you banned.
I think that's another thing that'll get you banned too if you talk about that.
So I don't know.
So I've been dancing around and not. Well, you know, that's the other thing too, and it kind of ties our point together. Also, is that I how to get clear, like what is my purpose? What am I doing here? Am I here to fight the existing system, try to break something down? No, I'm here to bring something new forward. I don't want to fight. Was it Mother Teresa, I think, that said something to the effect of don't ever invite me to an anti-rally. I'll never go to an anti-establishment rally, but I'll go to a peace rally anytime.
What about if they won't let you go to peace rallies though? What if it gets to the point where they won't let you do your work or somehow, or I can't do my work here? What if it gets to that point? Then what? Do you fight for that?
That's a good question. I mean, then that's taking it a whole nother layer and a whole nother level. And I've thought about that. I'm like, well, okay. And here's where I started thinking about Gandhi. Is look at, because I watched that movie once a year. That's like I think it was 1984 that it came out, or 1987 with Ben Kingsley, I think, played Gandhi.
Right.
Great movie, man. Great movie. And Gandhi was all about passive resistance,
right?
Nonviolent resistance,
right?
And or back in the day, burning the draft cards. And I've thought this out. I'm like, well, gosh, what happens if they say, if you don't get a microchip in your forehead, we're gonna take away your no soup for you, right?
Or no, you can't get a license, you can't get a driver's license, or
that's probably what would happen. They'd probably say you can't get a driver's license unless you get a sticker on your forehead saying I'm number 587 4-321A.
Yeah.
What
if it comes to that sort of thing?
Well,
Mr. Peaceful Resistance, then what? How do you do that?
For me, there are certain things that I've decided on a personal level of what I'm willing to go through and do, and certain things that I'm not. And
that's one good reason to be one thing that's helpful if you're single. If it's just kind of just you, I mean, you got your family there, but like if you had a kid, like I do,
whole nother story.
That gets what if they?
Yeah,
it's one thing for me to say I'm not going to get vaccinated. You don't want to have a license? Fine, I'm all by myself. Who gives a crap? Great, but what if you can't? You have trouble taking care of your kid, or your kid can't go to school, or things like that, where it just makes it hard to live.
Yeah. That's a big bridge. I'm not in that boat. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. I don't have,
right.
I don't have those things. And, if I do, that's a whole different decision to make, because I'm not living just for me. I'm living for and with some other people that I love. And okay, so that's a whole different set of priorities. So I don't know. I think that, well, here's my angle on all this, quite honestly, and I'll just go to that too, is I'm currently working with or looking into community living and having a number of different communities set up in different places. And one of the strengths of living in the United States is we have different growing seasons and different growing regions. And if we've got different communities that are set up in different parts of the country, and you have different greenhouses in different areas, and just set up shipping between them, you get all set up on solar, get off the grid. There are certain things that you won't necessarily need from anyone. There's a way to do this without being reliant on the existing system. Now there's at some point there is going to have to be some sort of monetary exchange. Like we still live in the world. We still live as a part of it. At some point there's still going to need to be some income to purchase various things, various whatevers. But my thought is to, like, right now, get on the wagon of trade commerce. And I haven't done a lot of research into this. It's just what makes sense to me. And so stepping back from the monetary needs and more into personal commodity. Like, what do I have that I can be of service to you? What do you have that you can be of service to me? And we're trading things out. And then all of a sudden, well, hey, you've got an orange and I've got a glass of milk. Like, let's trade there. You need a glass of milk. Right. I need an orange, that kind of thing.
Right.
So, it's taken that intermediary step of money out of the picture, and it's bringing relation, direct human exchange back into the picture.
Right. Yeah. You've talked about this before. Like, you say it's like a global, you like sell, I don't know what you're telling me. You're trying to explain it to me, but it's like a global community, and you could travel from.
Yes. And this was, what's interesting, Jay, is I think I actually brought this up to you probably like 10 years ago or more. I want to say that I was first thinking about this when I was still living in a van driving around the country. And I think I stopped off at your place in Boulder there and was like, hey, what's happening? Here I am. Peace out, bro.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I had actually forgotten that I was thinking about it during those days even. But yeah, so what I've been in communication with some different people around is having a number of different communities set up in different parts of the world, and that you essentially either work for as an organizer or contribute, a skill set or some sort of offering in that community, something, whatever you have value, sharing your gifts basically. And you're able to move from community to community. You're a part of this, like part of this system that and you have like your signatory communities that exist, and you can kind of travel to whatever community you want within the system. And then the communities also have free trade among one another. Because to me, looking at where we're at in the world today, one of the problems that we have, or the problem that we have, is that we're relying on big non-personal organizations and big non-personal governmental structures that they're just not personal. And whatever we can do to get more grassroots. And the other interesting part about this, and people go, well, you need an overseeing body and blah, blah, blah. But here's the key that's evolving in the consciousness of humanity, is that we are evolving into more singularity. We're evolving into more oneness, where we have an innate understanding of not only what we need, but what the people around us need, and where we innately step forward or understand what the need is and what the want is, and we're more happy to oblige. Like this is the one of the baby steps that we're moving into. And like a small example of it is like, if you've had a friend that's like, hey, I was just thinking about you and you texted me, I'll be darned. Hey, what's happening? Like, how often does that happen lately? It's a lot, man. It's a lot. Right. Like we're getting to the point where we're able to start almost reading one another's thoughts. Like it's really starting to get more and more in line with that. And we're going to see more and more of that evolve. Right. It's what I feel happening.
I mean, it sounds like you're talking about communication on the level of, on a subconscious or or whatever, on a, a level that's not just like communication, like the situation that you're talking about. I think of that and I feel like, God, that sounds like a lot of energy trying to communicate with people. Maybe you're just a better communicator than I am. but I was like, oh my God, that sounds exhausting. I like it that I have my own little space and I don't have to like, navigate someone else's,
Well, that kind of goes into like what we talked about last week with the empaths, is, having the awareness on ourselves. Because when we have the awareness on ourselves, what's interesting is when we are very connected to ourselves, we're automatically connected to everybody else. It just happens. Empathy, empathy within is like you have yourself intact, and it goes from, you go from feeling everybody else to knowing everyone else. There's a huge difference, huge difference in that. And there's no input output of energy in that knowing. It's just, you just know what needs to happen, and you're happy to be there. And it's like, on like a business level, you have people that just understand what needs to happen, and then they step in and do it without having to have a rule book saying this is your job and this is what you will do. You kind of walk in there and the rule book is just, it's in the hive. It's already understood. And this is what is evolving right now, but it's slow. It's slow. And the other thing is, it takes time to trust it. It takes time.
I mean, I understand what you're talking about, and I can see how that's possible. And it sounds like what you're talking about. Just the way things are, where we are these days, it's like, God, that's a long ways off.
Yeah.
That's a long ways off. I mean, like, again, like 1,000 years or something at least. I don't know. Unless there was some, some whatever, the solar flare happened, and then all of a sudden we were conscious on a whole other level. Or whatever, or whatever it might be. The galactic rift moves into alignment with the whatever, and then all of a sudden we're like, I'm one.
I am one.
But gosh, until then, I don't know. I don't think I could be a part of your community, Gale.
It's not as
I definitely would like to come visit and see how this works out. But
well, here's the thing. You already are, man. You already are.
Oh yeah.
It's not. Yeah. I mean, it's like and I speak in terms of this is what's evolving, but we're getting it on little micro inclinings inside of ourselves, where it's happening in baby steps, and just the rigidity of what's here is just going to be starting to fall away. And here's the thing: there are assholes out there. There's no doubt about it. Like, there's still a need for jails. There's still a need right now for the rules and laws that are in place, to protect ourselves from other jerks or whatever. But we're just evolving into having less of a need for that.
Right.
Less of a need for it, and more of an understanding and hey, we're all kind of on the same page here. So
Yeah, I hear you. I think probably like the internet is the sign of that. Like, it has connected us all in a way. It's shadowing or reflecting, a greater level of connection, global connection, or even things like Facebook or whatever. I mean, yeah,
for sure.
Somewhere down the road, it'd probably be like, we just all feel each other. And just feel myself, and I feel a love, and I'm connected with you through the love. And
it's actually you've been to a gate before.
Yes.
One or two. You get to like the last day, or you don't even have to be in the last day. You can just kind of walk in the room.
Yeah, it's true.
Feel what phase they're working. you know?
Yeah, right.
And to let everybody in on what in the world we're talking about, gates are big healing events where network spinal analysis is being used with people.
Transformational gate is what it's
Transformational
called.
gate. Donald Epstein, network spinal analysis.
Right.
And there's a field of energy that gets created when you have a lot of people in a room with a certain healing intention.
Right.
And you can walk in the room and all of a sudden you start to, your body automatically starts to kind of go into that phase that they're working. You
entrain to it.
Yeah. And it's the same exact principle.
Right.
Like what I'm talking about.
By the end of those things, everyone's like, "Oh my God, I love you. I love you."
They're all blissed out, hugging each other.
Yeah.
It just evolves that way.
Right.
Where it's just a feel good sort of thing, but that feeling or that phase or that frequency brings everybody onto a more similar page than they were on when they all first arrived at the event, where everyone was disjointed and very separate. By the end of the weekend, everyone people are, I should say, more in line with each other. And that's the evolution that I'm talking about of just kind of sensing and knowing where people are at and where
it's kind of really good, like you're more in alignment with each other, but also more in alignment with yourself. So you're at the same time more individual, at the same time somehow you becoming more settling in your self is also connects you with everyone else somehow. So
the other thing with that too, it's like it's kind of a feel good sort of thing, right? And I notice for me, like when I'm there at those things or any other similar event, like if you're sitting in a drum circle, you tend to create the same thing. You get onto the same page in the same zone. Or if you're at a party, you're in the woo or whatever that phase is,
Right.
But you tend to kind of know where people are at, and you get in that zone, and depending what kind of event it is, I find myself being less polarized by people because I know that we're sharing the same thread of information or the same frequency,
Right.
And so, to me, that's just kind of a micro example of what I'm talking about.
Right. Yes. I know what you're talking about. I've experienced it. I've experienced the possibility.
Yeah.
And I feel like as a whole, the world is like so far away from that. I feel like it's so far away from us all being in that place.
I wonder. Okay.
Anyway.
I wonder. Now, I agree. Okay, first I agree with you. I'm going to start with that. I'm going to say I totally agree with you. Now I'm going to play a little bit of Angel's Advocate.
Okay.
I'm play Angel's Advocate with you. What if? Now this is my first time I've ever thought this thought. So this is a big moment.
Oh, okay.
Moment for Gale, and I'm going to share it with everybody too. I wonder what would happen if tomorrow we got out of bed.
Aliens.
No, elves.
Oh,
the elfin. We're all going to go back to the Shire. Frodo. Anyway, what if we got out of bed tomorrow and the only thing you could find on the internet and on the news was good news? What if that's all the only thing you could find? And what if the only thing you could find was eat healthy food,
right?
Drink good water, spend time in nature, love one another, be kind. Right. What if that's the only thing you saw online and that's the only thing you saw on the news?
Sounds like a movie script, a good movie script here or something.
It actually might be. It could. Has that ever been a movie? It could be, actually.
Sort of like there's
an interesting idea.
Pleasantville, or I don't know.
Pleasantville, that's right. That was
a movie where it's like black and white sort of, and then anyway, I don't know. Yeah, right.
But I just wonder what would happen with the world if that happened. How long, what would happen to the consciousness of humanity if that happened?
So, but does that mean leaving out the fact that, there's horrendous shit going on somewhere?
Well, I wonder how much of that horrendous shit would disappear.
Right.
But then also, I mean, it's kind of similar to how much good shit happens every day that they don't put in the news.
Right.
They only talk about when someone gets their face blown off in some event, or someone, that's all they tell you about. The dog, even a cat got stuck in a tree, and like what about the little kid that like petted the cat for the first time and really loved it?
Right.
Like why not tell that story?
Yeah.
So, and I understand, and this is just to kind of placate some of the people, because I mean, I understand that our news is reflective also of where we are at in consciousness, but it's also wildly manipulated.
Right. Yeah. Again, there's that contrast thing. Like somehow, I think there will always be. I think there will always have to be the light and the dark somehow. Like maybe less of the dark. I don't know, but feels like some. What's that?
Hard to imagine being without it. Like, what is
the
world?
Like somehow there will always have to be, because again, like if it's just all goody all the time, it's like you don't know how good it is after a while, if that's all there is. Yeah, that's interesting.
Go ahead.
The other thing I was thinking that might bring us all together is a planet, is something that's outside. Like, that's why I said aliens. Something that outside of us, that that we all sort of become aware of ourselves, as a planet of people or whatever. Well, I guess things like world pandemic could do that.
Sure.
But but that's kind of on the earth. If there was an other somehow outside of the earth that was like attacking us, maybe then we could be or maybe just knowing that there's an other out there somewhere might do it. I don't know. We'd see ourselves on a different scale. Like, oh, now all of a sudden we're aware of there's other out there, and we on some level more aware of our we-ness.
Yeah, I suppose if you wanted to then I will play devil's advocate. So I wonder, okay, so what if all of a sudden we've got Independence Day and like a mothership shows up over Tokyo and New York and London, New LA, and what if that happens? And they're like, hey, we're gonna mess you up, okay?
Right.
What do we do? Do we unify under AI? Do we unify under something that's darker than what's here already? Do we unify under, what do we unify under and what do we unify as?
What's that? What do you mean? What do we unify under AI?
Well,
I'm not sure what you're saying.
It's kind of like, it's like, what if, who makes the decision, the global decision? Who's the governor of the world? Who's the king and the queen, or the organization that makes those calls? That decides, well, we are going to be the spokespeople for humanity, and we deem it so that this and this and this happens, and this, we will negotiate this way with them, and we're going to trade our goods with them, or we're going to try to blow them up.
Right.
Like, who makes that call? And the AI thing, I guess, was more in terms of kind of going down the road of David Icke with the deep state and AI and the reptilians and all that. So that was kind of out of left field on my part, but that's where I pulled that from.
Right. I mean, I think if it was clear enough that they were, against us, then I think people would band together. I think it wouldn't take, I think world leaders or whatever wouldn't have to convince anyone if it was clear. But this is what some of those in other channels of YouTube that I watch, like this Stephen Greer guy, he says this is what they've been planning all along, is that they're planning for to fake, like this would be the ultimate false flag event, where they put on this show that we are being attacked by visitors from another planet or whatever, from outside of our world, outside of Earth, and that would be the ultimate thing that they use, of course, to, I guess, create a one world government and control us on a whole other level.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's the philosophy of what's happening right now with COVID. Is this is a false flag sort of controlling mechanism, then it, that's all that this is. That's one of the things that they're talking about. David Icke talks about it that way.
Right.
Some of these other guys, but
Yep.
And I just want to say for the record, with COVID and all this stuff, I believe that there is a COVID virus. I believe it's out there. I believe it's happening. I believe it's greatly exaggerated what's going on, but I believe it exists. I do think there's manipulation and a certain. I do believe the way it's being dealt with, there may be some manipulations going on.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it seems like there's something people are catching that's putting them in the hospital.
Yeah. And there's also people talking about the influence of they're being told to document things as being a COVID death,
right,
or when it wasn't.
Sure. Right. Like if you have cancer, and while you have cancer, you're on hospice for cancer, and you get the flu. Do they put died of the flu on your on your death certificate?
Right.
No,
it's a die of cancer complications while cancer, but now they're just saying you have COVID and that's what killed you.
Right.
So
maybe it's because I guess the flu can kill you, but if you die of the flu, I guess they don't do that. Yeah. So
somebody wants those numbers to be high, otherwise they wouldn't be influencing it to be that way. And so then you have to ask the question of what is the why? Why would they want that number to be high?
Right.
You can extrapolate what you want from that, but why, to me, has to be the question that gets asked when you start going down that road.
Right.
So interesting stuff.
Speaking of beings from another world, maybe it's time to ask them.
Sure. Let's see.
I sure as hell don't know.
Well, yeah, right. Well, maybe they'll have some ideas. All right. Is there anything? What do we want to ask or talk about?
We have to
What's that?
Is there something coming through?
They're kind of just said we've always got something to say.
Do we need to direct them somehow? I mean, on the subject that we were talking about?
No.
Okay. All right. The answer is no.
No.
Okay. Let her rip then.
Yeah. Thanks. No, there's a plan.
They're like, we don't need you two idiots.
Right. Heckle and Jekyll, man.
They're like, you're lucky we let you guys have anything to do with this.
Right. That's right. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for setting up these meetings and these moments for us to share and speak on behalf of so many. We speak on behalf of so many, not necessarily just on your planet, but elsewhere as well. We are the overseers. This is who is speaking right now. We are a conglomeration of various entities who have been overseeing and watching the evolution of your planet for some time, for some millennia, essentially from the beginning. We don't necessarily have individuals speaking through him right now who have been here from the beginning. However, when you reach a state of consciousness such as that in which we are speaking from, consciousness simply just is, and all that is known in the place that is known to us because of the frequency in which we exist. We are also tuning into and tuning through the state of consciousness that exists right now upon your planet among the people who live on your planet. We had a pause in that, and this pause is something that we want to speak on. The pause is in that not every human being is collectively included in the message of what we bring forward. The weeding has begun. The weeding has been underway. This one who speaks now has seen this for some time and has been talking about it amongst his friends. That there are those of you on your planet who will not be returning, and those of you who will. Understand that this is not a choice of judgment. It is more of an alignment of frequency and congruence to an agreed upon trajectory for humanity. There are those who you would call a lower vibration, or rather those who are rooted in fear, in anger, in jealousy, and those sorts of things, who will not be returning. And it is not simply because that is something that they feel, but that is something that they intend on a deeper level. And this is what we want to address. There are many who right now who are concerned about their level of consciousness, and will they continue to be here, and what happens if the world is ascending and they feel that they are not. Understand that you are more than just your feelings and more than just your thoughts. Each human being upon this planet has a culmination of parallel lifetimes, past lifetimes, however you choose to see it and express it. However, you have many multiple expressions within you. It is your lens of participation in the world through those multiple expressions that determines the angle and or the frequency of your soul. It is the illumination that exists within your soul and your capacity to align with it that decides whether or not you ascend or move forward. Here is the hairy part, is that there are many of you who have a lot of fear. There are many of you who have anger, resentment. However, that is not the essence of your soul. The essence of your soul is what's being asked to come forward for many of you, and it is the anger and the fear that you are feeling that is being brought forward. It is the anger and the fear that is being let go. It is the essence of your souls that is coming forward. The invitation is to be with the anger and the fear. Understand that you are living in a time on a planet where it is not as important how many years you live, rather the quality of the years that you live. What we mean by this is your presence to yourself and your ability to be present to yourself. That is to say, be present to all that you feel. Let it all move through you with as much grace as you can possibly ask for, and you will eventually emerge in the space you are trying to attain, you are trying to achieve. You are evolving into an ascension process or a life process that is more determined upon the level of consciousness in which you achieve in a lifetime. That is to say, more souls that are born now will be living based on the amount of time that they will spend on the planet will be based upon the consciousness that they achieve and not so much based on the years that they live. This is something that is emerging, and it will be more finite within your system within the next generation. We want to speak more clearly about our first statement. There is confusion among those who hear what we say at this time. The confusion is, am I one of those people? Am I one who will not move forward? We say to you, if you are hearing these words from his mouth, from this event, if you are hearing this, and that is your thought, then the answer is no. If it is a concern of yours, if you are here, period, you are moving on. There are those who would never consider something like this. There are those of you on the planet who would never listen to these types of words being spoken. There are those on your planet who continually have malice in their hearts and darkness in their eyes. Their words, their actions, and their thoughts exude it. These are the ones who do not return. They will be taken to another place to move through that which they need to move through. Understand, however, the way this works, the way the soul works, is that their consciousness, the frequency of their consciousness, goes to another place. Their energy, the lightness of their energy, remains. There is so much to this ascension process. The level of efficiency of how this works is, as you say, mind-blowing. You are in a time where the ascension process is so heavily slanted and efficiently slanted to the light that those who have any light at all in them will have that light remain here. Their darkness is what disappears. So understand, if you have the potential of 8 billion different personalities that can be born in the planet, that field narrows to a smaller number in increments. Are we saying that your population will go down? Absolutely. Your population will go down, but it will not be in the ways that you fear. Yes, people will still die in uncomfortable ways. However, it is a different sort of process. You have those different frequency coming in. Interesting.
Can you describe it?
It's just different. There's no information in it. There's no information in it. I'm going to realign here. What is this? What is this? Oh. Oh. Hmm. Hmm. Ah, okay. You're saying I'm talking too fast, that people aren't understanding it, they're bringing it through too fast, and they want my heart involved more. We have to hit the pause button on you once in a while because you get excited, they're telling me. Okay. Um. Oh, that's totally different. Interesting. That's the first time that's happened. Oh, that's way better. Yeah.
What's happened?
It's all opening in my heart now. It was coming through my pineal gland earlier, the frequency. Now it's shifted. It's like it shifted frequency down. It's in my heart now. There's more of me present here now. They're saying it's important. I'm just going to repeat what they're saying to me. It's important. No, they're locking in. Okay. It's important for him to be present to what he says. It cannot just be a linear explanation of things. It cannot be just a linear explanation of information. Understand that he too is learning. He is learning about his channeling. He is learning about his capacities. He is learning how to do this in the way in which he was born to do. he is learning that it is more than information and that it is frequency. It is a frequency that carries in his voice and carries less so the importance of the words and more so in the frequency of the voice. It is information that when it is resonated through the chamber of the heart and the words emerge from that chamber, from that energy, that it has a more penetrating quality that enables the listener to understand in a third language that activates different things in the listener's bodies. So you have not only a listening experience, but you have intuitive downloads at the same time. It is a far more diverse and effective way to transmit energy and information than simply speaking from the pineal or from the mind about high-minded ideas. We will be bringing this band forward more frequency in your broadcasts. We want to continue the same discussion, but we want to do so in this frequency. We want to bring calm to those who hear this message rather than confusion because of too much information. We would rather give a little less. We are tuning to the frequency now and bringing that frequency forward of those who have chosen to stay, those who have chosen to go on. We have essentially removed the frequency of those who are not. This message is for those who will go on, for those who will stay. As was mentioned, those who will not be a part of this. We were saying that the population will go down. The population of the earth will naturally go down. This has to do with the simple notion of so many people living so close together. It is not natural for humans to be so close. There is more spaciousness in your minds, in your hearts, and in your bodies when you have spaciousness around you. This is to say that your population will spread out a little bit. You will have more space between you. You will still have concentrations of people, of course. However, you will have more space built in between you. Despite the physical space, you will have more internal connection. You will have more internal honoring. That in which you spoke about during this broadcast of connecting different people through different frequencies is accurate. It is how you all will all do it. And we want to add something to something that was said during your broadcast. That is, when it was spoken about reading people's minds, it is less so about reading minds. Reading minds is boring. there is not actually so much that happens in the mind. You have a lot of electricity that gives some images, and it is all the mind does is it repeats patterns. There is not much of interest that actually happens there. However, through the frequencies of the heart, now that is a different thing altogether. The heart is what connects. The heart is what knows oneness. And it is the heart that is capable of creating different frequencies in the mind, so the mind can be your receiving tower, essentially. Your heart then becomes the carrier for the frequencies that not only give you the sense of oneness, but also carry the information of your intentions or your needs or your creative ideas. Have you ever noticed that when you are close with someone or you enter into a room where there is perhaps people painting, or perhaps people doing math, or perhaps people having a political discussion, that sometimes you are able to adhere to that frequency and your own abilities in that department tend to be accentuated. This happens all the time. And what is happening is an alignment through the heart. The alignment through the heart occurs and it influences what happens in the mind. The mind begins to move in its usual circles, its usual patterns. However, more of those patterns and more of those circles are centralized on a past event where there was a level of achievement accomplished in whatever it is that you are surrounding yourself with. To make an example, if you painted a great picture when you were 15 years of age and you hadn't picked up a brush until again when you were 25 years of age, and you walk into a studio having never picked up a brush, you go into that studio with others who have been painting, you align with the room through your heart. Your brain remembers, whether that be conscious or unconscious, how good it felt to have accomplished that painting at the age of 15. It automatically boosts your skill sets in that department. The people in the room itself help to accentuate this process and enhances your own painting experience. All of this is an example of how your oneness will be displayed, how your oneness will be experienced. It is also how your consciousness raises. There are many of you now who are workhorses on your planet. When we say workhorses, we are referring to those who are on the front lines of healing, those who are going deeply into themselves to bring up the painful energies and painful memories that exist not only within yourselves, but within the collective. There are many of you now who are here doing these sorts of things. This raises the consciousness of many, because these workhorses that we speak of are all biased in the frequencies of love and connection. It is how they are able to feel and know the human soul so intimately and bring about healing not only within themselves, but in others. You always know you are in the presence of one of these people because there is something about them that lights you up and brings you comfort. There is a sense of non-judgment, a sense of compassion, a sense of understanding. And this sense that they have, it imbues itself into your own frequencies because that itself is your own nature. You are, in your essence, love and compassion. It is the most efficient state to exist in as a human. This system becomes more efficient as certain souls leave the planet. As certain people pass away, those souls who are carrying the heavier energies, those darker souls, as they leave, it actually helps the frequency of your planet. It makes connection among the kindred spirits and the soul families more efficient and more true. We want to shift gears a bit and move away from this topic of oneness and how it evolves. We want to talk about your schools. We want to talk about your school systems. We want to talk about your educational process. Right now, it is very linear. It is very 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3. You teach the basics. You teach how to speak. You teach how to write. You essentially teach communication. We want to say that this is one of the things that will be emerging in a different way. You will have children being born who have certain understandings already around mathematics and around writing. There will be more information that gets transmitted in utero, more information that the fetus is able to integrate, whereas before it could not. Understand the intelligence of the heart far exceeds the intelligence of the mind. One would hardly actually say the mind has intelligence at all. If you want our description of the way you see intelligence now, you see intelligence as a high capacity for thought. We see it as those who have relaxed their hearts enough to give their brains confidence in a certain area, enabling your brain to function at a level of efficiency that enables one to remember more. But it is the heart that drives the energy into the brain. Now, there are those who are very intelligent who do not have a great heart. You could even say that they are negative. They are still channeling through the heart, but they use a narrower band of energy and a narrower frequency that comes through the heart and energizes the brain to give it its confidence, to give it its frequency. These are things that your scientists will be discovering if in the future, in the near future. We also want to mention your schools will be doing different things than they were before. Your schools will be more local. Your schools will have smaller attendance. There will be less students in the classrooms. You will have more classrooms. You will see the great decentralization occurring. There will be many things that are not needed to be taught. There are many things that will just be understood. You will have certain classes that will be melded, most notably science, physics, religion. These things will be seen as more oneness. There will be less distinction between the two because there will be an understanding that is more from a place of singularity and oneness. You will have less of a need to pick things apart and to digest them. You will have an understanding of things that will be simple, that will be basic, and not confusing. As it is now, information is chewed up into tiny bits and spit out to be memorized or evaluated. This level of separation of idea is what keeps much creativity at bay. Having a singular understanding of life that is transmitted through the heart is the defining factor to create this reality in your world. These are things that will be emerging in the next number of years. Do you have questions?
Thanks for that, all your information so far. Kind of going back to when you were talking about oneness, you said when people move on, frequency of consciousness goes somewhere else, but their lightness remains. Just this sort of sense that there's this sort of separation of planets or dimensions or something. Will that be like an obvious event, or is that just sort of a gradual thing that happens that those that move on are not aware? Are we aware that we are separating? Will we be aware that we're separating from each other?
Yes and no. It has already happened and happening. We are monitoring this closely, very closely. There are certain rates of acceleration, of ascension, that are unhealthy, that can actually cause you harm. They may feel good in the moment, but in the long run, be harmful. We are watching this closely. As your universe, as your sun, as it sends out its flares, and as those frequencies come to your planet, some of them are a little too intense for you to handle, and they would shake things up. We help monitor the way these frequencies come to the planet. To answer your question in a more direct way, no, it will not be an overnight sort of thing. It would be too jarring for your conscious minds. Understand, when you have a deep split in a person's consciousness, that person essentially stops being able to function in society. If you had an entire planet that all of a sudden flipped like so, the consciousness would not be able to endure it. There is still enough darkness in your world that causes this to be true. You have those of you, there are individuals on the planet who are ready for such a transition. There are those who can endure such a split and such a shift. Most are not. Those who do endure it, those who do go through it, you will see them. They will stand out. It will be obvious by the things that they talk about and the things that they do and the stories that they have about what they have experienced. Most, however, will not go through this. It is those who do who will help the others move through in a gradual way. You will see this as an evolutionary process. It is something that is meant to be kept regarded in a somewhat unobvious way. When you have an event like an alien craft that arrives too early to a planet that is not ready to see an alien craft, it disrupts things and changes the trajectory of the consciousness of that planet in a way that is not conducive for the inhabitants of the planet. There is a common integrity of love that exists, that develops on each planet as you go through your alphas and your omegas, as you are right now. There is a frequency of love that develops, and there must be a sense of autonomy that exists as well. That you have achieved your levels of consciousness and that you have worked collectively together through your trials and tribulations, and that you alone have done it. To bring a savior forward, to come and bring about the change, is not conducive. Having an outside source to rely upon is not conducive. To know thyself, you must know thyself, and then you must know thyself as a collective that has achieved that which you are. We have seen other planets that have been tampered with consciousness, where there have been landings, there have been introductions of beings into their societies that they were not ready for. This was a mistake. We have seen these things. We have learned from these things. We are observing you now, as every planet has its own markers of differentiation. There are things we are learning from you all the time, as no two planets who ascend are alike. You are certainly unique. You have in your consciousness, the consciousness of your planet, a very strong will of self. Very strong. You are perhaps one of the more individuated willed planets that has moved through this type of a process. You truly deserve accolades for where you have come from and where you're currently at, and for being on the trajectory that you are currently on. To have that much will within a collective and to be able to move through that which you are moving through is simply amazing. We are honored to be a part of this grand experiment and be a part of your process. Is there anything else?
Thank you for everything you just said and for answering my question from before. I'm just kind of interested by this statement that you said that seemed to be saying that there's going to be a depopulation, that the population will be less. And it's just kind of interesting that there are, I don't know, a thread of an idea that there's certain bad guys in the world who, the deep state or whatever, who are trying to depopulate the world. I wonder if it's sort of a case of like that happens and that like bad things are used for good, or if there are other reasons that our population gets lower. Maybe, yeah, that's my question.
You are speaking of the difference between fear and control and love. The deep state of which you speak is based on fear and of control. And depopulation for them, for individuals, or for organizations such as that, are interested in depopulation because it is easier to control fewer individuals. The depopulation of which we speak, of what we see occurring, is of love. It has more to do with consciousness and the shift of consciousness than anything else. In an earlier channel, we spoke, in fact, last week, we spoke about having fewer frequencies available upon your planet because of the evolving oneness. You have fewer frequencies because you have less darkness to cause more fissions in your reality. Remembering that you are all love and light. You are all the frequency of oneness, and it is the introduction of darkness into that love and into that light that creates fissions and thus divisions, creating within your world the myriad of experiences that you have, as well as the very diverse expressions that you have as people. as this darkness recedes and as this darkness goes away, you have fewer of those fissions in your frequencies. The same holds true for your personality types. Therefore, because of the lessened availability of potential personality types, you have fewer people. That is to say that you have more frequencies of love that will be present on your planet, and that will be a new, evolving type of personality that you will have. However, you must understand the deep power of light and love. To have more beings on your planet that are more geared towards love and more geared towards light, if you had too many of them on your planet in too short amount of a time, it would create the split in consciousness that we spoke of in our earlier answer. Therefore, you will have, yes, fewer people on your planet because you will have less availability to choose darkness, more availability to choose light. However, in your own self-regulating intelligence that you have as a collective organism, you will simply choose a more efficient expression of humanity as a whole. Your collective thought, your collective thinking, your collective knowing, your soulness is where you make this decision from. You essentially choose to have fewer babies. You simply choose to come together in communities and in partnerships, and you will know that you are either to have a baby or not. It will be less of a folly and more of a purpose that you are born into when it comes to rearing children. You will know if you are to have a child or not. It is something that will be in you, and you will know. The decisions are made on a collective level and less on an individual level. And there are those who fear that they are losing freedom. And we say to you, as we have said before, you are less free now than you will be later. That which you can express through love is far grander than what you can express through experiencing fear. Are there more questions?
No, I'd say that's good. Thank you so much.
We wish to clarify a point. He is telling us we chose the wrong words. The frequencies available on your planet are fewer. They are more based in love. It is not about personality types. It is about the frequencies engendered within a heart, within a soul, within the expression of what you would call an individual person. Those frequencies are what are essentially narrowing. If you have 100 frequencies available on a planet, and you can organize those frequencies any which way you want to, from very dark to very light, and you begin to eliminate frequencies 1 through 20 that are all based in fear or darkness, you are left with frequencies 21 through 100. Now you have a narrower band of potential of frequencies that you can organize these different frequencies into as a soul expression. It is simply a matter of having less option to choose from. You remove the fear. You have more love. You have less of a need for the diversity of your expression. This is a cleaner way to express what we have to say. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for organizing this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your journey. Thank you for your healing. Until next time, we thank you. That was weird, man.
What was weird?
Oh, it was like when they shifted that frequency.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it was all here.
Yeah.
They're just like it was like all just coming through, and all of a sudden, like this just stopped. Like
right.
it just like went blank.
Mm-hmm.
I literally couldn't think.
Mm-hmm.
It was like everything just froze up here, and I kind of panicked a little bit. I'm like, whoa,
Right.
what's going on? There was something that was inside that was just like, just wait for it, just wait for it, be calm, breathe. And then it's like I felt this open up in my heart. I'm like, oh, oh, okay. They're like
doing like a state shift.
Well, let's do this different, man.
Right.
You know, the wild thing about this is when they're coming through and when they're talking, it's like I can feel the people listening. Like I can feel, I can feel them. I can feel what they're feeling. Like they're going, you just talked about this and it confused. You confused. Like there are people who are confused here. We need to talk more about this. So they're like right now in this moment, they know who's listening. They know
who will be listening.
They know who's coming online to listen to this. Like it's figured out, and they're like, this is for you.
Because for those listening, we don't have this plan to be up later. We don't.
Yeah,
we have to publish this.
No, we're putting this up.
We're just talking, you and I, right now. It's not published yet.
No, we're not. There's no audience listening right now. It's just I'm in my bedroom basically, and Jay's in his office, and we're just having a conversation. So
they know who will be listening.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Far out.
Indeed.
I took a whole bunch of notes this time. I got them. I've been typing up notes. So
awesome.
Interesting stuff.
Well, sweet. Well, this was fun. Glad we got together and did this again, Dr. J. And yeah, this is New Consciousness Now. I'm Gale
Yep.
Wulff. This is Dr. J. Uecker. And
thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for being here, everybody. It's great. We'll see you next week.
See you next time.